Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. So I did a book haul back in April after I got back from my New York trip, and since then I have bought some more books, so I thought it would be fun to just talk about the books that I have acquired since that point. So all of the books that I'm going to talk about here are unread books. There are some other books that I have purchased since April that I have read, so I'm not including them just because they've probably popped up other places on the channel so far. So without further ado, let's jump into the haul. These are not categorized any particular way, and the first one is Lobster by an author that I cannot pronounce. Apologies. It is a pretty short one. It is also translated from the French, and this is a pretty weird sounding one. It is about a lobster whose dad is eaten by a girl aboard a ship, and the lobster becomes attracted to said woman. That is as much as I know about this. It's a pretty weird one, obviously from the cover. I had heard about this one somewhere on Bookstagram, and it was a hard one to get a hold of, so I had to order it from the UK. That happens from time to time where there'll be a book that is not available in the US easily, so I end up ordering it from like Blackwell's or something like that, and this is one of those instances. So I did put in an order for this one, and I still have not read it, though every time I look at it and I look at the synopsis, I'm like, I should read this. So that is Lobster. Next up is a Charco Press book that I came across at my favorite local bookstore, and it is The National Telepathy, and yet again, I don't know how to pronounce this author's name, but it is a translated book, and it's translated from the Spanish. So the description says, in September 1933, the Peruvian rubber company delivers 19 indigenous people from the Amazon to businessman Amado Dam, intended for Argentina's first ethnographic theme park. Unexpected among the human cargo is an artifact harboring a sloth with a fascinating yet terrifying secret: the ability to create erotically explosive telepathic connections between people. What ensues is a raucous satire of men's fear of women's bodies, of the illusion of logic in the structures of so-called civilization, and the way class and race obscure identities when the observer is a man with power. This sounds like it is going to touch on so many topics that I find really interesting, and the premise was just so wild sounding that I had to give it a try. Also, I love Charco Press. They put out such incredible translated works, and the cover also was intriguing. I love sloths, so this should be a really interesting one. Next up, I have a book that was gifted to me by the publisher, and that is Sympathy Tower Tokyo by Rai Quadan. Also, apologies if I'm mispronouncing names. I did not look these up ahead of time. That is my bad. So this was gifted to me by Summit Books, so thank you so much. They asked me if I was interested in the ARC, and then when I received it, it is the final copy, which is beautiful. It's super shiny and gorgeous, and I am very excited about it. So it is a translated book, and it follows a futuristic Japan where the practice of radical sympathy towards criminals has been normalized. So it says, a grand yet controversial skyscraper in the heart of Tokyo is planned to house lawbreakers in compassionate comfort, called Sympathy Tower Tokyo. Acclaimed architect Sarah Makina has been tasked with designing the city's new centerpiece, but is filled with doubt. As Sarah grapples with conflicting emotions, her relationship with her gorgeous and much younger boyfriend is increasingly strained. In search of solace and in need of creative inspiration, Sarah turns to the knowing words of an AI chatbot. So that is the premise of this. I have no idea where this could be going. It is kind of elusive in its description. This is something that is going to push the boundaries of what I am generally interested in, but I think it's still in my wheelhouse given the fact that it is translated. And I think that the sort of social commentary and AI stuff is something that is generally in my wheelhouse, but I don't read about it all the time. And so excited that I got gifted this. Thank you so much, Summit Books. Next up is another sort of random one. It is Total Cat Mojo by Jackson Galaxy. So Jackson Galaxy was on My Cat from Hell. He's a cat behavioralist, and this is his kind of go-to guide for all things cat. There are so many misconceptions about cats, and Jackson Galaxy aims to teach people about how to be the best cat parent they can be, but also just to understand cats better. So as a cat mom, I want to learn everything I possibly can about cat behavior and to give my cat the best life possible. This is the only book in the stack that is partially read. I have kind of skipped around and read little chunks of this, but I still wanted to include it. Next up, we have a book that I have said I was going to read several times and have not, and that is My Clavicle and Other Massive Misalignments by Marta Sands. This is also translated, and it is a piece of autofiction, and it chronicles Marta's experience after she notices a tiny bump beneath her skin just below her clavicle near her breastbone. So the description says, in the aftermath of Marta's discovery, we realized that something fundamental has changed for her, and that whatever has happened, however elusive, it is something very real. At the same time, the mystery reflects in everything the author encounters, but especially the bodies of women, and especially women of a certain age. So it has to do a lot with pain, and it is a subject that I am super interested in. And the cover and the title totally captured my interest as well, not gonna lie. It's translated from the Spanish, so I'm expecting it to be fabulous. It also has some photos throughout, which doesn't happen a whole lot, I feel like. I guess maybe more so in nonfiction type of things, but I am here for it. Okay, moving right along, we have a nonfiction that I am very excited about. It is Jesus Land by Joelle Kidd. This is stories from the upside down world of Christian pop culture. So this is exactly what it sounds like. It talks about different pop culture phenomenon from the 90s and 2000s, I believe, but I'm not sure if it touches on other eras as well. But that is sort of the heyday of the Christian pop culture craziness. And as someone who is deconstructed and just finds religious and cult fanaticism very interesting, I think that this will be very enlightening, but also just kind of a interesting callback to some of the phenomena that I experienced or knew a lot of people had experienced as part of a Christian community in the early 2000s. So I think this one is going to be cathartic and fun. Okay, next up, let's talk about the 3 books that I got when I was at the adult book fair in Tulsa recently. The first one is called The Summer I Ate the Rich, which is just a fantastic name. The cover is fabulous. I'm not sure whether this is a YA or if it is a adult fiction book. I've seen it shelved kind of in 2 places at different bookstores, so I'm not sure. The description says, Brielle Petitfort loves to cook, but with a chronically sick mother and bills to pay, becoming a chef isn't exactly a realistic career path. When Brielle's mom suddenly loses her job, Brielle steps in and uses her culinary skills to earn some extra money. The rich families who love her cooking praise her unique flavors and textures, which keep everyone guessing what's in Brielle's dishes. The secret ingredient? Human flesh. Apparently this one plays into Haitian zombie lore, which is fascinating. I'm very excited to dig into this one. And yeah, just incredible cover. And I saw this at the book fair. I hadn't heard of it before, but I was like, oh my God, this is right up my alley. I need to get it. Next up, we have Automatic Noodle by Annalee Newitz. This is actually more of a sci-fi book, which is surprising, but I was drawn in by the cover and then the premise sounded really interesting. It's set in the near future, and it says, you don't have to eat food to know the way to a city's heart through its stomach. So when a group of deactivated robots comes back online in an abandoned ghost kitchen, they decide to make their own way doing what they know, making food. The tastiest hand-pulled noodles around for the humans of San Francisco who are recovering from a devastating war. But when their robot-run business starts causing a stir, a targeted wave of 1-star reviews threatens to boil over into a crisis. To keep their doors open, they'll have to call on their customers, their community, and each other to find a way to survive and thrive in a world that wasn't built for them. I don't think I've read anything like this, and also I don't read sci-fi, so I guess it's fair that I haven't read anything like this, but robot fiction is something that I have been dipping my toes into on and off for several years, and that is often sci-fi coded, so this is kind of an extension of that. This one honestly just caught my attention, and I thought the premise sounded really interesting and like nothing I had read before, so I wanted to give it a shot. I may not have normally bought this, I may have just looked it up on Libby, but because I was there, I decided to get it because I didn't know when I would come across it next, and also it's the book fair, so you gotta. And I will say I showed great restraint at the book fair because this is the final book I bought while I was there, and that is Out There by Kate Folk. This is the only book of the 3 that had actually been on my TBR, but I hadn't seen it at any like local bookstores. So this is a short story collection by the author of Sky Daddy, which is one of my favorite books that I read this past year. I love a short story collection. I love Kate Folk's writing, and this had been on my TBR, so when I saw it, I was like, absolutely, I'm definitely getting it. So that is the third book that I got at the book fair. Okay, next up I have a very anticipated release that came out this fall, and it is Somebody is Walking on Your Grave by Mariana Enriquez. Enriquez is an Argentine author, and her works are translated, and I love her. She's one of my favorite authors of all time. And this is her first nonfiction to be translated into English, and it has to do with cemeteries. So the description says, Mariana Enriquez, called a sorceress of horror by the New York Times, that is accurate, has been fascinated by the haunting beauty of cemeteries since she was a teenager. She has visited them frequently, a goth flaneur taking notes on her aesthetic obsession as she walks through the headstones, where dying seems much more interesting than being alive. But when the body of a friend's mother who has disappeared during Argentina's military dictatorship was found in a common grave, Enriquez begins to examine more deeply the complex meaning of cemeteries and where our bodies come to rest. In this rich book of essays, Enriquez travels through North and South America, Europe and Australia, visiting Paris's catacombs, Prague's old Jewish cemetery, New Orleans' above-ground mausoleums. Enriquez investigates each cemetery's history and architecture, its saints and ghosts, its caretakers and visitors, and of course its dead. So that sounds incredibly interesting and a perfect addition to her macabre and grotesque kind of writing, something that I think will be very interesting to dig into. It is a bit of a chunkier book, and it's kind of a large hardcover. I don't really have many hardcovers that are this size. Like, this is a regular hardcover size, so it is a bigger hardcover than the rest of the ones that I have. But I am very excited about this, and I plan on reading this one very soon. Okay, let's talk about a couple of short story collections. The first one is Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung. I purchased this while I was in Colorado at the Boulder bookstore, which was absolutely incredible. I love that bookstore. If you're ever in Boulder, check it out. It's amazing. They have a huge selection. But anyway, not to fangirl about the Boulder bookstore. This has been on my TBR for quite some time, and I had been intimidated because I'd heard that it was quite horrifying, but it has been several years since I've checked in on this book, and Bora Chung has released some more things since then, and I'm now much more capable of handling grotesque horror and gore, at least in books. So I decided to pick this up and give it a try because I've heard such incredible things about it, and one of my best friends just recently read this and said it was amazing, so I am definitely pushing this up in the priority to read soon. But yeah, this is a translated one, and I'm very excited about it. Next up, we have Odd Body by Rose Keating. This is a sort of horror, weird woman short story collection, and it came out this year. I actually don't know a lot about this. I've just heard really good things about it, and I loved the cover, so I went ahead and picked it up. And the final short story collection I have to talk to you about is Beyond All Reasonable Doubt, Jesus is Alive by Melissa Lozada Olivia. So this cover and title definitely drew me in. I was very curious as to what this was going to be about. Like I said, it's a short story collection, and it says, a beheaded body interrupts a quinceañera. An obsession with her father's bizarre video game shifts a lonely girl's reality. A sentient tale sprouts from a hospital worker's backside, throwing her romantic life into peril. And in the novella Community Hole, a recently canceled musician flees New York to find herself in a haunted punk house in Boston. This collection, at once playful, grisly, and tender, presents a tapestry of women ailing from something to believe in, even if it hurts them. Using body horror, fabulism, and humor, Melissa Lozada Oliva mines the pain and uncanniness of the modern world. Reveling in the fine line between disgust and desire, Beyond All Reasonable Doubt, Jesus is Alive is for the sinner in us all. So yeah, when I heard that description, I knew this one was for me. I'm very excited about this. This is one of my books that I really intend to read by the end of the year, so I am very, very excited about it. Okay, continuing on, this one came out a bit earlier in the year, but I did not get to it yet. It is I Want to Go Home, But I'm Already There by Royson Lanigan, I think. This one is a sort of haunted house book. The description says, Anne should be feeling happy with her life. She's just moved in with Elliot. Their new flat is in an affluent neighborhood surrounded by bakeries, yoga studios, and organic vegetable shops. They even have a garden. And yet, from the moment they move in, Anne can't shake the sense that there's something not quite right about the place. It's not just the humorless estate agent and nameless landlord. It's the chill that seeps through the drafty windows, the damp spread from the cellar door, the way the organic fruit and veg never last as long as they should. And most of all, it's the upstairs neighbors, whose very presence makes peaceful coexistence difficult indeed. The longer Anne spends in her flat pretending to work from home, dissecting messages from her friends whose lives seem to have moved on without her, the less it feels like home. And as Anne fixates on the cracks in the ceiling, it becomes harder to ignore the crack in her relationship with Elliot. So literally, as I'm reading these descriptions, I want to read this book immediately, and that's not great for my TBR going into the end of the year. So this one sounds amazing. I'm very excited about it. It sounded amazing when I found out about it, but I found out about it a little bit before it was released. So I immediately got it as soon as it came out and then proceeded to not read it yet. So this is probably not priority TBR just in terms of what I need to read, but it has my heart in terms of what I want to read. Next up, I have Friends of the Museum by Heather McGowan. This is kind of a chunky book, to be honest. And the description says, when a colleague's urgent text message wakes her before dawn, Diane faces the start of a frantic 24 hours in the life of the museum she directs. The stakes are high for Diane, who has sacrificed her professional reputation and the health of her marriage for the sake of the museum. Now, in the battle to stave off the institution's imminent ruin, she'll need everything to go right. Diane has supporters in Chris, her enigmatic and tireless personal assistant, Shay, the museum's loyal chief of security, and Henry, its general counsel, a man whose ability to weasel his way out of a jam is matched only by his capacity to avoid learning anything from the experience. Orbiting Diane's inner circle is a motley assortment of museum employees, each on the precipice of collapse or revelation. Among them, a line cook staring down a huge opportunity he's not sure he wants, a costume curator stuck in an inescapable rut, and the head of the museum's film program, whose first day on the job may very well be his last. By evening, with the museum's splashy annual gala in full swing, Diane must keep every plate spinning or face treacherous, even fatal consequences. So yeah, I have no idea what kind of horrors are in store, but the text in this book is a lot of dialogue, not in quotation marks, that have these little like dashes beforehand, which I didn't realize that going into it, so I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about that. However, if I decide to audiobook this, that might help differentiate some of the voices for me. I think sometimes audiobook narrators take this and they know what characters are saying what, so they kind of give different voices, or sometimes there's different voice actors. So just because it's a chunky book as well, I may utilize the audiobook for this one, but yeah, the cover is also incredible and it sounds like it could be a crazy wild ride. Okay, we are getting through the stack. The next one was an anticipated release and it's also translated, and that is Playing Wolf by Zuzana Rihova, I think. And this is translated from the Czech, and I've never read anything translated from that language, so that's pretty exciting. This cover is fabulous. I'm obsessed with it. The description says, husband and wife, Bohumil and Bohumila, I have no idea if that's the right way to say that, I'm sorry, together with their son, moved from Prague to a remote village with the hopes of salvaging their marriage. In the searing summer heat, they try to fit in with the villagers, only to be met with hostile stares and evasive lies. Each night, the couple hears what they suspect to be a large animal wandering around their cottage, an impression that oddly corresponds to the mysterious flyers found at a local watering hole regarding a wolfen fairy tale. As inexplicable coincidences begin piling up, it's clear something sinister is afoot. After a drunken night out, Bohumil and Bohumila return to an empty house. Their son is gone. After 3 days of searching, they find the villagers in festival costumes gathered outside their cottage. Is it a bizarre game or some perversive folklore ritual? Are they in danger? What has happened to their son? So this sounds like it is combining psychological horror and folk tales in a spooky way, and I am here for it. It sounds very, very interesting. This was an anticipated release. I was really excited about it for a while, and it just sounds amazing. So I'm very excited about this book. Hopefully I can get to it pretty soon. Okay, next up is The Hunger We Pass Down by Jen Sukfong Lee. This was a release that I got very excited about shortly before it was released and pre-ordered it. The book is about a single mom named Alice Choi. Between a booming small business, a resentful teenage daughter, a screen-obsessed son, and a secret boyfriend, Alice can never get anything done in a day. It's all she can do to just collapse on the couch with a bottle of wine every night. One morning, Alice wakes up and everything has been done. The kids' rooms are tidy, orders are neatly packed and labeled, As the pattern continues, she realizes that someone or something has been doing her chores for her. Alice knows she should be uneasy, but she's too tired to care. The extra time allows her to connect with her children and her hard-edged mother, who has started to share their family history, beginning with her great-grandmother, who was imprisoned as a comfort woman in Hong Kong during World War II. Lurking in the corners of Alice's new normal, those family demons are as real as ever and about to become impossible to ignore. Following the relentless specter of intergenerational trauma as it is handed down from mother to daughter, The Hunger We Pass Down asks what it might take to break the cycle. Heroism, depravity, or both. Wow, this sounds incredible. I remember why I was so excited about it. I would really like to read it soon, as I got really excited about it before I purchased it and then haven't touched it yet. So very, very excited about this one. I think this could be a favorite of the year. Okay, last few books. This one is Crafting for Sinners by Jenny Kiefer. This cover and title just pulled me right in and made me laugh. It says, Ruth is trapped. She's stuck in her small religious hometown of Kill Devil, Kentucky, stuck in the closet and stuck living paycheck to paycheck. After her manager finds out that she lives with her girlfriend, Ruth is fired from her job at New Creations, a craft store owned by the church that dominates life in Kill Devil. In an act of revenge, Ruth attempts to shoplift some yarn but is caught red-handed. Instead of calling the police, the employees lock her in the store and attack her. As Ruth fights for her life using only the crafting supplies at hand, she plunges deeper into the tangled web of the New Creationists, who are hiding a terrible secret that threatens not only her, but the entire town. So this sounds like a fun, thrillery kind of story. It sounds hilarious, honestly. I could not get over the silliness of the premise. And yeah, I just think that this is going to be a really fun book. Second to last book, this is My Body by Lindsay King Miller. I actually saw this on a horror display at a bookshop and I thought it sounded really good. So I ended up picking it up that day without really knowing much about it. The description says, gay single mom Bridget always thought that cutting ties with her extremist Catholic family was the best thing she could have done for her daughter Dylan and for herself. But when Dylan starts having terrifying fits of unnatural violence, Bridget can't shake the memories of a girl from her childhood who behaved the same way, until Bridget's uncle, Father Angus, performed an exorcism. Convinced that Dylan is suffering from demonic possession, Bridget does the thing she told herself she'd never do. She goes home. Father Angus is the worst person she knows, but he's also the only person who can help her daughter. But as Bridget starts to uncover secrets about Father Angus, that long ago exorcism and her family's past, she realizes that she and Dylan have never been more in danger. So yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm very excited about religious horror. It's something that I really like to read about and think is really interesting. So yeah, I picked this up and I read the back and I was like, sold. Okay, and the final book that I want to talk about is Herculean by Grace Byron. This cover, I am obsessed. It is absolutely gorgeous. This description says, Herculean's narrator has demons. Sure, her life includes several hallmarks of the typical trans girl sob story. Conversion therapy, a string of shitty low-paying jobs, and even shittier exes, but she also regularly debates sleep paralysis demons that turn to mist soon after she wakes and carries vials of holy water in her purse. Nothing, though, prepares her for the new malevolent force stalking her through the streets of New York City, more powerful than any she's ever encountered. Desperate to escape this ancient evil, she flees to rural Indiana, where her ex-girlfriend started an all-trans girl commune in the middle of the woods. The camp, named after 19th century intersex memoirist Herculean Barbin, is a scrappy operation. But the shared sense of community among the girls is a welcome balm to the narrator's growing isolation and paranoia. Still, something isn't quite right at Herculean. Girls stop talking as soon as she enters the room, everyone seems to share a common secret, and the books lining the walls of the library harbor strange cryptograms. Soon, what once looked like an escape becomes a trap all its own. That sounds fascinating. This was actually like shelved in sci-fi, which is interesting. I thought it would be kind of more horror, but this was a book that I had seen online and thought sounded amazing, and it just came out, so I went ahead and purchased it, and I'm extremely excited about it. Okay, folks, we made it. Those are all of the books that I have hauled since April. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. There's so many good ones in here that I desperately want to read soon, but there just isn't enough time. I will get to them all eventually, but doing this has got me super excited to read all of these. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.